Aaron Tuttle here for Ferguson Roof Systems. For 43 years, Ferguson Roof Systems has been protecting Oklahoma's homes and businesses with quality roofing services. Their goal was to be the most honest and dependable roofing company in the state, all while providing free services such as lifetime labor warranty and annual inspections. Well, mission accomplished with thousands of client testimonials, an A+ Better Business Bureau rating, and a 5-star rating on Google. Look, the weather gives you enough to worry about, so why worry about who to trust with your roof? Call Ferguson Roof Systems today or find out more at fergusonroofsystems.com.
Hey there. All right, glad to have you with me. We'll give it a few seconds let everybody trickle in on this Saturday afternoon. Hope you're either enjoying a good lunch or did enjoy a good lunch. I'm enjoying a nice little vintage 1973, aged to perfection, limited edition. You're looking at him, a limited edition of a weather forecaster in Oklahoma City. Anyway, Jody made me some tea. That was a good tea, by the way, babe. Thanks. All right. Yeah, there's nothing in it, though. Don't get all excited. Although it should be. Jay, thank you for the stars here on Facebook as we kick off our Saturday afternoon weather discussion. Come to the right place. We're going to talk about the latest on the upcoming winter storm. So, what's funny is when we say storm systems, we give them nicknames, we give them adjectives, right, to describe what they are. So we say thunderstorm, winter storm, ice storm. Now, when you say there's a winter storm coming in a couple of days, do you immediately issue a winter storm warning? No, you do not, because a warning is a short-term category issued by the National Weather Service to cover specific amounts of precipitation. But when you're discussing something coming your way, you don't hide and pretend and tap dance around it. You say what it is. So I call a spade a spade. So you won't find BS, nonsense, silliness here. I'm direct to the point and scientific. So anyway, so there you go. Kickstart with that little nonsense. So we do have a winter storm coming, aka an ice storm in this particular case. Why? Because it's going to be all ice. There's not going to be any snow with it. Not going to be any sleet with it. Should just be all freezing rain on contact. Debbie, thank you for the stars. My goodness, come on, phones. Stand up here. My little kickstand's not working. All right. Keep tabs on you guys over there. Make sure you're behaving. Jody's in the chat as well. Make sure you're behaving too. YouTube, I see you checking in. Chicken Mama from Shawnee. I'm going to guess you got chickens. Don't buy them from, what was it, the Tractor Supply Company, because you might get some roosters in there instead of chickens, but you won't know until it's too late. Michael, yes, thank you. Appreciate it. So I work hard to earn that title. The view from the top is good, and it's mine until I retire. Brandy, thank you for the stars. Melinda, thank you for the stars. So let's get on with it, right? I know what you're saying. Come on, Tuttle. I ain't got time all day. I got things to do. All right, so I'm going to give you, what I'm going to do is a little different here. So the early birds get the quick forecast, all right? The late to the party people, you're going to have to wait a little while. Because, I like to get into the details, right? I like to teach you what's going on. When I come to you, Diana, thank you for the stars. It is like me going to a jury, all right? And you are the jury. And every day I have to plead my case. And I have to present all of the evidence to convince you that this is what I'm stating, these are the facts, this is reality, this is truth, and this is why. So that's how I approach the weather. If I don't have a leg to stand on, why should you trust me? You should convict me. You should run me out of town. You should grab your pitchforks. You should say, burn them at the stake, all right? So, all right, hold up, Facebook algorithm AI. That's hyperbole. That's just fun. Don't sit there and mark the video as, whatever, and ban me. Had that happen before. Stupid Twitter. So, yeah, sometimes when you say that stuff, those are just tongue-in-cheek comments that we used to be able to make these days, but now you can't say anything anymore. Everybody's so upset, you even upset the computer algorithms. Stupid. All right, let's get on with it. So out there currently, we've got a mixture of clouds out there and some sunshine. It looks like a nice day, but it's misleading. Thank you, Tanya and Sarah. We have some more high clouds are working off and on throughout the day today. And then we're going to get some lower level clouds, mid-level clouds, and then some precipitation on top of all of that. By the way, on Facebook, I'm going to post that link here real quick. Those of you folks that are in here that would like to join the Facebook broadcast weather channel that I have, that I created about, I don't know, 3 weeks ago or so, that Facebook gave me. So that way you'll get notified when I go live. You won't miss it, and you'll be on time. Just a little heads up for that. All right, let's get on to temperatures across the state. Remember, I'm about 25 degrees, warming up quickly. So we're into the mid-20s now over central Oklahoma. We've got teens still up to the north and east, 20s on down to the south, even on down to Texas. There's Dallas-Fort Worth into the upper 20s for those folks. Of course, colder up north as well, into the single digits still across Kansas. So we did get a pretty good blow of cold air, but we did not get the coldest. Who did? Up here in the upper Midwest, Iowa, looks at that. Temperature still at the lunchtime hour right around 0 degrees. And if you go up north from there, Minneapolis, they're still also in the 0 degree range, and even parts of Nebraska. So that's where your really cold air stuff is. So we got a good shot of it, but it's not nearly like it was the last time around. Thank goodness, because I don't think my pipes can handle it. And I bet you your pipes couldn't handle it either, right? Is what it is. All right, so temperatures after this morning, guess what? We were in the single digits, almost 0. Cold. This is actually way colder than the models anticipated. They had us in Oklahoma City, I think, right around 12 degrees, so it missed it by 4. And up here in northern Oklahoma, they had it about 9, and so they missed it up here by 6, or if I can do math right, 5. So that's always good to know. It's good to know how far off the models are in the short term, because that means they underestimated the strength and coldness of the Arctic air. So that goes with the forecast, which is important. All right, so let's take a look at wind fields out there. Kind of got a southeast wind returning out here across the far western parts of the state and the panhandle. Otherwise, we still have kind of a northeast wind. So anytime you get a northeast wind, that is a cold air advection. In other words, we still have a little bit of cold air coming in and some dry air with it. It's not until these winds turn around out of the south and east is when that kind of starts to put the brakes on. Here's a look at air temperatures out there currently, like we talked about. Warming up here to the mid-20s. Central Oklahoma, still teens on up to the north. And then the wind chill value, not as bad as we've seen in the past. We're now feeling like it's in the single digits as you come up into Kansas, and then teens elsewhere over the body of the state, with the exception of southeast Oklahoma. Now, here's your quick version of the forecast, now that you kind of got the current situation under control. This is a look at the precipitable water. All right, so this, the purpose of showing you this is how it starts to work its way back into Oklahoma from Texas and the Gulf of Mexico. And the main reason for this is because this is how we're going to get our precipitation and why we're going to get so much of it over the next 24 hours. And then if you will look here, I want you to see the trajectory. You see how it kind of comes in from the north and then kind of scoots on off to the north and east. So it's kind of in a fetch that kind of does like this and then curls like this. Now this is important because this is where you're going to get the heaviest precipitation to follow this theta E axis. Now, if you've heard me at all for since Monday, I think, I-44 has always been the dividing line from Tulsa to Oklahoma City and points south to Lawton. Everything along that boundary is significant south and east, north and west, not nearly as significant. Now, however, that said, significant can mean anything when you're talking about precipitation. Normally, we say significant, it means heavier precipitation that you can actually measure, that's going to be, thirst quenching for plants in the ground, all that kind of stuff, right? In the winter time, technically, 1/100th, which is like this, that could be significant when it's all ice. So just because it's not significant up here in the form of falling precipitation from the sky, any moisture you get at all will cause a skating rink, so just so you know. But anyway, the point of this map was just to show you where the big track of the moisture is going to be. And I want to show you what that looks like whenever we factor in the precipitation. So this is actually a pretty good thing. And let me see here if I can do this. Let's try this. No. Which one did I want? Was it this one? I think it was this one. Yeah. Okay. So we'll zip on through here, and I'm going to show you how things start to get going by, let's see, 6 p.m. All right. So I'm going to show you down kind of the big picture, and then we're going to zoom in the small picture as well. Oklahoma City, right here, in the center part of your screen. So if you're not familiar with the maps around here, interstates, this is I-35 running north-south, so Oklahoma City here, Tulsa over here, Dallas-Fort Worth here. Okay, so what this shows you is that precipitation is already developing from Lawton to about Oklahoma City down south by 6 p.m. tomorrow. So that is our start time for anything significant falling from the sky, and as soon as it hits the ground, it's ice, okay? So as we go into the next hour, and the hour after that, and the hour after that, So by 9 p.m., look how just expanding all across North Texas into southern Oklahoma. And the red indicates all ice. So I'm going to stop it here around the midnight hour to 1 o'clock in the morning. And what you're going to notice is ice from the Dallas-Fort Worth area back south and west to parts of the hill country on up north in Oklahoma, even a little bit of touch to that going up into Kansas and northeast Oklahoma. So as we go through time, look how most of the red kind of hugs that I-44 corridor down to the south and then out to the north and east. So your sweet spots in between for your higher precipitation amounts, even Dallas-Fort Worth, through about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. As we head into daybreak, though, look what happens. So in daybreak, the model is starting to warm things up in Dallas-Fort Worth Monday morning. Points to the west, though, still kind of has a little cold pull with it, and it's still struggling. The model's still kind of one of these teeter-tottering at 32, 31 degrees in Dallas-Fort Worth area, up through about daybreak Monday morning. Then after that, it does warm things up. So Dallas will have a trouble. They'll have a problem. And the forecasters down there, don't get me started. If they're bad up here, they're worse down there. Anyway, you can see how the ice continues in this same track for the time being. So this, my friends, what you call an ice storm. And if you were to look at the averaged amounts in that, what we called our 24-hour freezing rain accumulation, using the Fram method, is pretty much the most accurate method we can use for ice accumulations. You can take a look here at this color, according along to this chart down here at the bottom, where you see the third green right here. That is between 1/4 to 1/2 inch of ice accumulations. So technically, an ice storm warning is 1/4 of an inch or more when the National Weather Service looks to issue one. So we'll see. But regardless, I don't care what the warning or the advisories or the watches are. That does not concern me. What concerns me is the output. So we've got 1/4 to 1/2 inch here, stretching from the south end of Tulsa to just southeast of the Oklahoma City metro area, kind of on the leading edge there about Norman, down toward Paoli, Pauls Valley, and then back out here toward Duncan, and then down toward Ardmore. So that seems to be a sweet spot in the model data here from this morning. Now this stops, here's the kicker, this stops at noon, or excuse me, at 12 o'clock. Come on, Aaron, 12Z. 12Z is in the morning. I see noon, I tweet 12, and my brain goes noon. I forget, I gotta convert this. But so in the daybreak hours, this is how much precipitation is already fallen. 1/4 to 1/2 inch of ice, that's trouble, man. And remember, you're still gonna have a few hours after that of additional ice accumulations, and those will probably occur from that point forward. My guess would be more in this area is where the heavier additional icing will occur. So that does include kind of the clips of Tulsa a little bit. But you can see Oklahoma City can out of that secondary push throughout the rest of Monday. So but we're still on that fringe here of 1/4 of an inch of ice in Oklahoma City. All right, so power outages, they're on the low end when you have 1/4 inch of ice, unless you have the winds pick up, which we actually are going to have a little bit of wind. Anything less than that is less of a concern. Anything more than that is a greater concern. That's how things span out. All right, so that is your very short version of the forecast. So if you have to run, you don't want to hang on anymore, you don't want to chill out and get some cool weather information, you can split. Tell your friends and family that before you go, AT's weather. Look, if you want to know the guy, if you want to follow the guy that called 8 days ago when nobody else did and everybody laughed at him, I'm the guy you want to follow. If you want to watch the other guys that don't have weather degrees, meteorology degrees, they're faking it, they're frauds, they copy and paste, they don't have any fortitude to go out on their own, have them follow those people. They're going to waste their time. I call it like it is, man. Hey, sometimes you just got to come out swinging, because you hear so much nonsense, it just gets irritating. So you got to separate the wheat from the chaff. Is that how it goes? So I'm giving you some tips on that. All right, so let's take a look at the upper levels of the atmosphere. Big upper level flow is coming on in for Sunday afternoon. Look at all this energy right here. This is all going to rotate through in waves. 1, 2, 3, and there's more out here, 4. So we're not done with the pattern as far as rain goes, but as far as the ice goes, yeah, it'll wrap up by midday Monday. So again, Sunday evening, there's all that bright energy coming in, the lift in the atmosphere over Texas and Oklahoma. As we head into Monday morning, they have another big heavy round there that shifts on into Arkansas, Missouri. And then we head to Monday evening, that final round up here in northwestern Oklahoma. Okay, so that's how that system will plan out. And like I said, there's more coming here. There's Tuesday afternoon, a big round. Here's another one for Wednesday. So we got more rain to come after this. But, what I'm focused on right now is the ice. And we look down underneath that layer to the 700 millibars from about Sunday evening onward. Anywhere where you see red or orange on the map, that's where you're going to have the lift that comes in little waves and spurts. You can see how it just kind of blossoms. It moves across the region. Here's midnight hour. very heavy signal here for precipitation in northern Texas through Dallas-Fort Worth. You can see it's really heavy here moving through the Red River Valley just east of Ardmore. That'll be moving into southeastern and eastern Oklahoma by Monday morning. So that's why you're going to get the higher ice accumulations in this zone, because obviously you've got the heavier precipitation. And then it really expands mid-morning Monday into this region for even higher accumulations for Arkansas and Missouri through lunchtime Monday. Now, at this point, temperatures should start to warm because it's too much rain. It starts to tap into some of that warm air advection where temperatures aloft do get transported down. And then that way the ice ends and it turns over to a cold rain while it's still got heavy rain going. But anyway, so that's that in a nutshell as far as the lift that's going to be causing the precipitation. When we look at temperatures, how far south did the cold air go? Let's zip on through into, let's go to Sunday morning. So Sunday morning, they're starting out. The freezing line is way down here into Texas. That's the blue line you see on the map. So, of course, Dallas-Fort Worth and everybody else here in North Texas is freezing. As we go throughout the day for Sunday afternoon, you can see how the freezing line kind of retreats kind of in this zone. And we do get spots of Oklahoma just barely above freezing briefly, but then it cools right back down because, that's just the way it goes. Let's see. So now let's go into Sunday evening. So if you see Sunday evening, let's redraw this. So the freezing line is kind of doing something like this, right? So again, that is where you're going to have your icing start in the evening hours for Sunday. And of course, all of Oklahoma is pretty much below freezing during this event until we get to, let's go Monday morning. All right, so here's Monday morning. See what I'm saying? There's Dallas, 31, 32. So they're right on the edge here. So about daybreak on Monday, that's when this warm air should start to retreat from Texas and advance in Oklahoma. So we go through hour by hour. So we head into mid-morning hours. The cold air has now kind of eroded in North Texas and is now kind of along the Red River Valley. And then as we head into, let's see, about lunchtime on Monday, look what happens. See all the blues disappearing. You only have a couple little spots left, even out here in Arkansas and Missouri where the heavy rain is ongoing. And then you have late afternoon. There's that little patch still left over here, but otherwise this all area that was receiving the heavy rain has moderated as well. And therefore, we have saved the day on a short-term ice storm event that did not stick around for days on end and leave us all without power and no way to get around, and usually the way it usually goes, which is horrible. So this is the best way to get an ice storm if you're going to get one. Dew point values, let's see how far they go. Okay, so obviously single digits here across Oklahoma, even down into Texas, so very dry air. So that is your sign that Arctic air has arrived. Now, as we go into Sunday afternoon, by 3, 4 o'clock, our dew point values are in the teens. Same thing for Dallas. Now remember, the dew point value is the bottom floor of where the actual air temperature can go, which means once it starts to rain, and as long as until this dew point gets up to 32, you've got ice. So here's Sunday afternoon and evening. Overnight, Sunday, where you still got dew point values way down here, regardless of what those surface temperatures were. Remember when I showed you that blue line on the map? Remember, those temperatures will actually cool once it rains, so the model will not always show you that. So that's why you have to look at the dew point values. All right, so we go into the Monday morning time frame. You can see how these dew point values are still 30, 31 in Dallas-Fort Worth. Of course, we're into the 20s. So we're looking at an easy 6-hour to 12-hour window of freezing rain. That's not good news, just so you know. All right, so we go into Monday afternoon. Look what happens. Lunchtime, we finally start getting that little taste of freedom. You see some 32, 33 sneaking in here. So that means the dew points are finally going up as the atmosphere continues to moisten up, which means that any icing will start to evaporate and become less of a problem. And even when you do have a dew point of 32 here, especially at this point, I think the main wave of the ice or the rain has moved off, and temperatures will rebound by a couple of degrees. So even though there's still the dew points lingered there for a couple of hours, I think we'll still end the precipitation before then. Remember, this is a bottom floor, so in other words, as low as it can go. All right, now when you do take the temperature and your dew point and you mesh them together, so you do get precipitation. And you go, okay, so this equates the wet bulb temperatures. The wet bulb temperature is where you got 100% saturation. Both those numbers have come together. They can't go anywhere else. And so that is your final end of the day temperature, and whatever precipitation you have in that time at that temperature is what you're going to get. So where is the, quote, freezing line then would be, or the wet bulb line of 32 degrees? We'll follow this little white line right here, all right, and we'll see where it goes. Now that is at midnight. So this is Sunday night at midnight. So you can see there's plenty of ice potential ready to go here for pretty much a lot of North Texas. All right, so let me move this forward. We'll go to stop it at Monday morning, right there, Monday morning. So you look at Monday morning, we've now moderated temperatures a little bit, snaking through the Metroplex. They're trying to kind of get north of there at times. And then now let's go to, let's see, 18Z. So let's go to lunchtime on Monday. So look how quickly, now they're still trying to hang on here, but look how quickly these temperatures moderate in this region. So that's where you have the leftover icing potential here in northern Arkansas and southern Missouri. And then if there was still precipitation, which, on that last frame of the 500 millibar, when we looked at, it had one last little piece of energy going through for Monday afternoon. And so in theory, you could squeeze out some light precipitation out here in northwest Oklahoma in the latter part of this event if these temperatures here don't rebound enough. So that could be a little touch of ice as well. That had not been in the forecast prior. We might have to add that. But you can see it's a very short window. I mean, it's only for a couple of hours, and then that line retreats back up here into Kansas and leaves Oklahoma alone, at least for the late Monday afternoon hours. All right, so there you go. That's how you can track the retreating of the Arctic air in the form of wet bulbs to where you can find out the cutoff line for ice. So let's go to the temperatures here on the local level. Told you we would do that for you. Obviously, it was cold here this morning, so let's get you to the lunchtime hours. That's where we are now, as we warm into the mid-90s. Or mid-90s. Boy, where'd that come from? That's me wishing. All right, let's see. Let's go to the evening hours for today. We'll cool you back down. Not as much here during the evening hours. Still keep you into the 20s, low 20s at that. And then overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. Let's see where we fall. Cloud cover's rolling on in at this point in time, by the way, so expect a mostly cloudy Sunday. And there's our temperatures. They didn't change much. So if you have a temperature, all right, with Arctic air mass, and in the afternoon, it's 23 degrees. At nighttime to the next morning, it's still 23 degrees. That is a telltale. What word am I saying? That is a good notation that you've got clouds, because the clouds act like a blanket, an insulator, and traps the heat from moving and cooling things down. So that means that we've already got cloud cover around here. Now, with that, it also means it's going to be hard to warm temperatures up during the day on Sunday. Now, the model's still going to do it, and it may do it in error, because I still have a tough time believing that we'll get many places above freezing with socked-in cloud cover with an Arctic air mass in place. So that's just me. We'll see who wins. Regardless, it's not by much. They're topping us out into the mid-30s, looks like, across most of the state, given that scenario. So they are getting us above freezing, but just by a hair. And regardless, like we said, it cools back down in the evening anyway. And then once precipitation starts, it gets even colder in some cases, or just holds tight. And we stay here below freezing. Here's Sunday night, Monday morning, up to 1 and 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. Here's 6 o'clock in the morning. So again, from Oklahoma City down to Dallas, you guys down here also around 32 degrees, 31 degrees. And then so daybreak, we get into the 8, 9 o'clock hour. You can see temperatures down here in North Texas are starting to recover and rebound. This little blue line starting to creep back up to the north. Even parts of eastern Oklahoma is trying to warm up. And then you can see kind of the rest of the state just kind of gradually erodes that cold air. And we get above freezing most places in Oklahoma, so through the afternoon. So that's why the ice is not going to be a problem as we head into the afternoon hours versus the morning hours. All right, so wind, not a problem today unless you're far up to the Panhandle in northwestern Oklahoma, a little breezy there. Then that wind will expand eastward. So by noontime tomorrow, we are expecting kind of a windy middle part of the day here over most of Oklahoma, with the exception of the south and east. As we head into the afternoon, the wind still stayed pretty strong. These are sustained winds up around 20. I'll show you the wind gusts here in a second. But yeah, 20, 25 sustained. And then let's go to the evening hours on Sunday. All right, so keep in mind, if we have any wind at all, at this point in time, we are accumulating ice. So this is 11 o'clock, this is midnight. So by midnight here, we should have ice accumulations, all in this area here. Starting to work up into here. So any wind at all, again, if we start getting heavier accumulations, can cause a problem. So there's Monday, 3 o'clock in the morning. Now the models do kind of drop the winds off a little bit, but there's still going to be gusts of wind, which is misleading on this map. And I'll show you that in a second. But needless to say, as we head into Monday during the day, the sustained winds stay around 10 to 15 miles per hour. So let's see what the gusts do. And I'm going to expand our view because I want to be able to show you where the wind gusts are going to be a problem in other places too. So let's just zip forward into Sunday afternoon when things get going. All right, so here's 6 o'clock. So you can see wind gusts in this area up around 15 to 25 to around 30 here in central and northeast and southern Oklahoma, southeast and down to North Texas, where this ice will be forming. As we head into the evening hours, we still have wind gusts up around 25 to 30. Again, this is all where ice has already been starting to form. They continue into the evening hours, and there'll be some areas where the winds do die off at times, but overall, still got some wind out there. And as we head into the morning hours on Monday, most of the wind kind of dies off for a while along this area, but then continues up here into eastern Oklahoma and western Arkansas. And some of these gusts, I mean, look at this, 50 mile per hour wind gust. Now, you want to talk about power outages. If you have a quarter of an inch of ice, you're in trouble from around the Fort Smith area up north, and then we'll travel this north and east. A lot of this is local terrain induced from the Ozarks, but needless to say, still going to be a little bit windy on the first part of this event on Monday out across this region where it's still got some heavy ice accumulation. So power outages will become a problem, obviously in the heavier, denser ice and also where you have the stronger winds. So I do expect power outages with this event. We talked about soil temperatures. Well, where they're at now, they vary anywhere from 31 to 33 degrees here and also up here in northeast Oklahoma. So with that cold air in place today and tonight, these numbers will drop another degree or two. So what that means is the ground temperature will be at freezing or slightly below, which means it will not help you. So when we do get rainfall that hits the ground, it will flash freeze. And how that occurs, you know what, I'm going to show it to you two ways. I'll show you this graphical way. The Weather Service put this out today. I thought it was pretty good. I've shown you one similar to this. What is freezing rain? It's a liquid precipitation that freezes on contact with cold surfaces as it enters a shallow layer of temperatures at or below 32 degrees at the surface. This creates a dangerous coating of ice on the roads, walkways, trees, and power lines. So how does it form? Well, it starts off in the atmosphere. The cloud layer is snow. It goes into this warm layer of temperatures that could be as warm as 5, 6, 10 degrees warmer, like in the Celsius terms. So that's much warmer than it is obviously in this zone, because now you can melt that to rainfall. And then it gets back into this cold layer we live and breathe, not that high off the ground, and it's obviously below freezing. And so when that happens, these little droplets that come down, or raindrops, they hit all these little surfaces and then they freeze on contact. So when you're looking at weather data and you want to see what that looks like, this is what it looks like. You have temperatures, say, for example, and you could do this. You can plot a forecast sound. You can pick on some of those models, and you can wow your entire family. Listen, man, if you're a kid right now and you're like 8 years old, you're gonna be like a genius. You're gonna go to your mom and dad and you say, "Look, I plotted the NAM forecast model for the forecast sounding, and I put in these numbers, and look what happened. It's minus 17 degrees way up here at 15,000 feet. Then it gets down to minus 5 degrees here, and then it's 4 degrees Celsius above freezing here, and then it drops back down to 4. Look what happens. All this snow then turns over into raindrops. But then because it's below freezing, then we freeze down here at the surface." So they would think you were a genius. They'd send you to Harvard. But anyway, so the point is, this is how the freezing rain develops, and that's why it's not snow, and that is why it's not sleet, those little ice pellets. If this layer right here, and I'll move this, wasn't so warm, so let's say it was only like, 1 degree Celsius, and these temperatures, let me see if I'll do it, because there's like a magic way you can do this. I think it has to be below 6 degrees Celsius at the surface. So let's see what happens if I can do this. Come on, you can do it. Is it still too warm? It's barely. So for sleet, you can have just temperatures here just barely above 32 degrees. And then what happens is it falls down to this much colder air down here at the surface. And even though it melts right here, which like some of these snowflakes are trying to melt, see into little raindrops, then they get back to this colder air and they come back down as sleet. So this little graphic should be showing you sleet, but it's not working like I want it to. Boo. That was a fun thing about this I found. It was like a little educational video gift that you could show to kind of visualize. So there I went too cold and I kept it all snow. So anyway, you have to play with these numbers so you can look at a real life forecast model sounding, and you can duplicate the numbers, and then this little graphic here should correspond to what the atmosphere will do. It'll change it from snow to freezing rain, or keep it all snow, or go from snow to sleet, that kind of deal. All right, anyway, so that was just an educational thing. If you're a kid or you want your kids to have this, just send me a message, a DM, and then I'll send you the link. All right, so where or who is in potential to get the ice? If you look at the red on this map, this is going to show you where the ice is. You see the green? That's where the rain is over time. And I'm going to start this for Sunday evening and then go forward. So you see how the probabilities of all ice expands for Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, even up north to Illinois and Chicago as we head toward the Monday morning, late morning time frame. And of course, we rebound. Temperatures all in here as we turn back to liquid rain. But up here, the little ice continues for a little while longer for the rest of Monday up towards Chicago during that day. And then this warm air then migrates up to that direction and melts whatever ice that they've had. Okay, so earlier I had shown you the precipitable water and showed you how the moisture was returning. So watch how this kind of comes in Oklahoma. And this is for midday, so today, or excuse me, tomorrow. And then as we head into the evening, stop it right here. I'm going to show you this is where the Tulsa to Oklahoma City to Lawton line is, okay? So I want you to see how we still have moisture that does cross over the line. That's why you can still get light precipitation north and west of this boundary. But just watch how most of the greens, the darker greens and the blue color, look how they kind of come up along that line and then kind of get shunted off to the east. You see that? And so that's why your heavier precipitation totals are going to be along south and east of that line versus north and west of that line. This goes all the way up through Monday, go to Monday afternoon. All right, and then that moves on off, and then we start to dry out a little bit. So that's a little cool thing there. All right, let's take a look at how the high-resolution models think the precipitation will break out here for today. Excuse me, not today, Sunday. Let's go here. All right, so we are now in the late Sunday afternoon time frame. If you see your monitor, because of how big your screen is. Hold up. Hold up. Much better. Okay, too much talking. These little blue or green areas down here, you can barely see them. So that's the sign that the model's going, oh yeah, we've already got some freezing drizzle and some light sprinkles going on down here. That's going to coat the roadways. So I showed you that at the beginning of the broadcast. For those that tuned in early, you got the early forecast. Those of you that tuned in late, you're getting the scientific setup for it, and then you're getting the forecast, which is right here, actually. Okay, so here's Sunday late afternoon. See how it blossoms here, southern Oklahoma, North Texas, all the way down to Dallas. You can see now it's got green, but in reality it should be pink colored shading for freezing rain. But that's okay. We'll let that slide on the output. All the outputs aren't always perfect, so that's why you have to look at other data. You can't just look at this one map and call it, where it's going to be rain and not rain. Okay, so let's go in the evening hours. You saw it continues to expand here across northeast Oklahoma. So what this is a first round of flash freezing that started here Sunday afternoon and worked its way north and east. So it went through central southern Oklahoma, east central and northeast Oklahoma, even southeast Oklahoma. So what that is our first wave where it's very light and it just goes ice. So in other words, everything turns to skating rink Sunday evening onwards. You do not want to be on the road after 6 p.m. Sunday, starting here in central southern Oklahoma, and then doesn't take long for the rest of the body of the state here. Okay, so that's first wave moves on out. And of course, you got new stuff that keeps developing back behind it. So this is as we head into the midnight hour, blossoming quite heavy with a secondary batch of upper lift that comes in, and that's going to really coat everything. So we kind of really get our heavy stuff here in Oklahoma City and down south from there through Lawton, Dallas, Ardmore, east from there into southeast Oklahoma, up the road to Tulsa. There's some Missouri, southeastern Kansas even getting some of this. As we head into the morning hours on Monday, all this bright red extends from Dallas-Fort Worth. Again, this is your big boundary of ice. And I got to hand it to you. Remember, we watched model trends all week long for this. And I got to tell you, it has not budged on the collective outline of where this ice have been looking for the whole time. It didn't shift over here, didn't shift over here, didn't go way down here, didn't go way up here. It has been in this corridor the whole time, and that is the nature of two things: the upper level flow in the atmosphere at the 500 millibar level, and also the Arctic air in the amounts of the dew points, etc. So when I see this pattern 8 days out, to me it's an easy call. It's a no-brainer. I don't know why other people have a problem with this. To me, I've never missed it. Let's put it that way. I've never been wrong in calling for an ice storm just because the setup is so easily recognizable. Anyway, so this moves into the mid to late morning hours on Monday, and you can see how the models are now trying to erode the Arctic air. Little spots here and there where temperatures are still hovering, at or below freezing. Otherwise, by far and large, by lunchtime is all in the unfrozen variety here across Oklahoma, and now a big chunk of Arkansas and Missouri. Little patches there off to the east through Monday afternoon. That moves on out, and that's done. And then we kind of dry out and get quiet. So this is kind of important. We look at how much precipitation is expected in the model data. I'm going to go through just Monday morning, and I did this last night because I want to know what for sure type of rainfall amounts we're going to have. Now, I just now know that I'll take what the model thinks is just pure rain. I know now to make it all ice, but what is potentially there on the table with that very high precipitable water content, which is many percent higher than normal for this time of the year? We are looking at 3/10, 4/10. There's some 1/2 inch over here. There's 4 1/2 inch, 6/10, all the way down Dallas-Fort Worth, kind of splitting the metroplex in half. East side a little dry, west side much more. 4/10 down there. Same thing for northwest Texas. So this is a big tail sign that you've got problems. Anytime you especially see the blue, that's 1/2 inch of ice accumulation. It's just, if you translate this just to pure ice rather than keeping it all rain. Now there's obviously some issues that can happen. There's a lot of physics that occur. If it's raining too hard, sometimes you get more of a runoff. So for example, let's say you've got a branch, and it's like the rain rates come in, like let's just say for example 3 inches an hour. I mean, it's just pouring down fast. Well, the problem is a lot of that gets wasted, right? It's a lot of splash effect, and your freezing rain that would hit, yeah, it hits, but you've had so much momentum that you've almost knocked most of the moisture off the branch because now it's on the roadway. Whereas if you have just floating moisture, a very, very light drizzle, it just comes over here and just taps. And the next one comes, taps. And it just taps. So you don't waste any of it. So sometimes if you get too heavy rain rate, you reduce the amount of icing that can occur on elevated surfaces such as tree limbs and power lines. The surface will still get it, but the elevated surfaces will get a little bit less. And so that's why we use, instead of this pure QPF, I'm going to use the FRAM, which is the ice version. We're supposed to take that into account. So we're going to see how that differs looking at this. I'm telling you, like, a lot of my secrets. So if you're one of those losers on Facebook that pretends to know what you're talking about with weather and you really don't know how to forecast, but you can copy and paste from other people, I'm actually telling you some of these things on how to do so you can actually do your job better as a con artist and actually, fake people out more. So you'll actually learn if you go to school with me here, which is sad. It means you took shortcuts, and I don't know how you look yourself at night in the mirror, but you did it, and here you go. Now you can learn from it to be better. Now that I can help you with. Your soul, I can't. Anyway, so there's the NAM, there's a wrap, there's a Canadian. Let's see, there's another high resolution short ton model we have. The idea here is to kind of show you the trend and how each of these will differ a little. Let's see, there's another NAM, there's an icon, and also notice kind of the placement. They're all pretty much the same as we talked about on that outline. There's another high resolution model there, there's one there, there's one there. So widespread 1/10 of an inch is not even in question. And then you're going to have a lot of areas with a 1/4 of an inch, and there's going to be some isolated areas up to 1/2 an inch, the way things are going in the data. Even the European finally kind of caught on a little bit. But I do remember this with the European. It busted pretty badly on the ice event in Texas. I was really disappointed. And I saw what it did. It has a tough time with freezing rain. It does better with sleet in its physics scheme. And so when I realized that, I was thinking all week, so why is this, and this is my go-to usually, I said, why is it stinking so bad? And I started, oh, that's right. It has a problem with precipitation type. And for whatever reason, it favors sleet more in the ice accumulations than it does freezing rain. And this time around, it didn't have any sleet in it, so it had lighter amounts. So it has a tough time because it completely missed the freezing rain in South Texas. I mean, like it never even happened. And I was like, oh, that was a bad bust. And it's usually king of models. But you can't, it can't win every category. So it's got, it's not perfect, obviously. So I found a weakness in the model, which I will now use to exploit it going forward that I realized on last week when I was using it. Okay, so earlier this week, whenever it was, I had that ice down in Texas. I lose track what day it is. Okay, so anyway, so that's all of that. Now let's transfer it over into something we can use, and this will be the FRAM output from the different runs. Yeah, here we go. So we'll start with the European right here. And remember, we're going to have our outline that we draw like this. So this is where ice, significant ice, should happen. I'm again not saying anything not out here. 1/100th is enough to cause problems to roads. But we're talking about a little bit more measurable than that. We'll say like a cutoff of a tenth. All right, we'll use that as kind of like the line in the sand we got to draw. A tenth of an inch of ice accumulations. So we'll kind of outline it. That'll be our metric here. All right, so the European has no clue what's happening in Texas. All right, shocker. That'd be the second time it messed that up. All right, the Canadian global model still dips a little bit down here, but also kind of in that same area. It does have some, by the way, European, where was it? European did have a bullseye point down here on Ardmore. Okay, so the Canadian model, the global version, also had Ardmore stretching up to Tulsa, then east out toward Fort Smith. Now this only goes till lunch, till breakfast on Monday. That's how I know this will be all ice. I will put it another, you know what, I might as well, I'll just go ahead and do it. I'll go to noon, because the model should be smart enough to know now for accumulations. I'm going to miss, I know that's why I did that, because I missed the short term. Okay, so we'll do short term first, because I'll lose some of the short term model data. They only go out 48 hours. So that's why I did that earlier. Okay, so again, there's the European, there's the Canadian. So let's be guaranteed ice through Monday morning. Here is the GFS, the American. Kind of favors that area here in southern Oklahoma. 4/10 of ice accumulation. Here's in Tulsa, about 3/10. Then out toward Fort Smith, and then now sneaking into Missouri. The HER, it's having some trouble, man. It doesn't think there's hardly any ice at all. The NAM went a little bit more south of our feature. Way down here, the hill country, Waco, Austin, San Antonio. A little light glazing down there for a few hours. Won't last long. That would probably be an early Sunday evening event before temperatures moderated. But that would catch a lot of people off guard down here if they didn't put that in the forecast. That was the low res version of the NAM, which there's both high res, but this is the lower res versus this one. This one is a super high res and kind of also keeps that signal down there. But also has tracks up here around 3/10 to 4/10 of ice accumulations here in southern Oklahoma. Here's Lawton, a little spot there, heavy for you. Now, it's not going to be that good to nail down the exact placement. Again, this is kind of just a general approach to where you want to kind of focus on. Now, this only goes through the morning, so it's not going to have these higher amounts here yet. I'll look at that in a second. There's a model blend to the morning, which is the most conservative, the lamest approach there is. It doesn't take into account some other issues. And then there's the Canadian. It really loves southern Oklahoma. You have to divide these amounts by 2 roughly is my rule of thumb. So that would be about 3/10 or so. And there's another short-term model which also favors southern Oklahoma. All right, so now let's go in. So you're asking, could that cause ice or power outages? Sure, certainly can. All right, we'll go Monday. Let's go Monday afternoon. Just go ahead and just call it. The rest, let's go to the end of the day Monday. And this will include ice accumulations now for Missouri and Arkansas. And it looks like Little Rock will be the line in the sand for the NAM model, for the high resolution NAM. But there's that other secondary batch of almost half an inch of ice accumulations here in southern Missouri. Here's a little spot here in from Fort Smith eastbound a little bit. We're also, let me erase this so I can see it on the output, up around 3/4 of an inch of ice here. That's pretty significant. And then down here in southern Oklahoma, about half an inch of ice, and down here in southeast Oklahoma as well. All right, so if you're asking me what model have I been favoring the most? Well, in the short term, since it's come out, has been the NAM. This is his little brother, which is more high resolution. The bigger brother, the fidelity isn't there, but it also does the same take home though. Bullseye here in southern Missouri, out here in Fort Smith, down here in southern Oklahoma, and it even likes parts of Dallas-Fort Worth. And looking at some of the vertical data, and that's when I do this little deal here, and I pop this up like this, and I'll show you what that looks like. When I looked at all those for these towns and cities, it averaged really about 1/4 of an inch of ice for Tulsa, Oklahoma City, and Dallas. If I were to blend them all together, it's 1/4 of an inch of ice. And again, that's significant. Okay, so let me see here. There's another high resolution model here that favors 1/2 inch of ice in this little favored spot, south central and even east central Oklahoma. Otherwise, they're in Fort Smith, and there's Missouri. And consequently, these are the areas, these 3 spots right here is what I told my clients in the energy sector where to position their crews a couple days ago. So they have faith in me. I know what I'm talking about because money's on the table. But same idea with the Canadian model. It favors those same areas. Let's go here. GFS, American, down here in the south, there and there again. And so you can see the take-home is pretty much all the same at this point. So now that we're in the 24 to let's see, what is we Saturday morning, Sunday morning, Monday morning. Well, still 48 hours into the afternoon. So now that we're in that closer time range, these higher resolution models can do a little bit better now at picking up the hot spots and how much precipitation will fall. But anyway, there's the Euro finally checking in at almost half an inch of ice accumulations down here in southern Missouri, hot spot around Branson, and then, like I said, east from Fort Smith, and then down here in southern Oklahoma. So when you're looking at ice accumulations, your takeaway here that I've been telling you here is that widespread, very minimum, 1/10 of an inch, all the way down to Dallas and parts of the hill country and up here in northwest Texas, stretching all the way to the eastern 2/3 of Oklahoma, with that I-44 being the boundary. All right, so that's kind of where all this has been. And then you're going to get pockets there that's going to up to around 1/4, and a lot of those you're going to get pockets there we're going to be up to around 1/2 inch the way things are looking. If you look at the Winter Storm Severity Index, it's kind of an experimental deal that they've been working on, and it also highlights, and this is it's a very, to me, it's a little conservative and it's a little late. In other words, it updates late to what it should be saying, but it did come around. So it's got Branson here, Arkansas, and here and close to Ardmore, just north and east of there. And what it has is these are moderate impacts. So moderate impacts obviously means hazardous driving conditions, and it also means closures and departures, or disruptions rather, in infrastructure. So power outages, utilities, that kind of deal. If we look at some of the Weather Service graphics that came out, I believe they put these out today. That's on their website. They highlighted the freezing rain. There's their 1/4 to 1/2 inch that they kind of highlighted here, but that goes along with that severity index I showed you. So they're kind of mirroring that. So they work hand in hand, because that's kind of like an inside thing that they use for forecasting. But their takeaways here for freezing rain, Sunday night to Monday morning, impacts to Monday morning commute. Freezing rain could begin as early as Sunday evening in parts of southern Oklahoma and North Texas. Now, this is where we're going to disagree. I will say late Sunday afternoon. Say pretty much after, let's call it after 4 o'clock's fair game. With chances increasing and spreading northward overnight and continuing into Monday morning. It's not really chances, it is going to happen. But you have to remember, they're in the probability game. I am in the communication game. So if I always talk to you in probabilities, and I always say, well, there's a 5% chance, there's a 10% chance, that's frustrating, because your take home is, oh, well, that's not going to happen. There's a 95% chance that nothing's going to happen, so I'll take those odds any day of the week. So probability is a way to try to convey risk, and it's used in a lot of aspects in the world, and it's used in weather because it's a very complicated, complex process you're trying to dumb down to one way to describe it. And to me, it is horrible, but it's the best we can do given what we have. So I come around and I say, you know what, I toss that out. So my answer is yes or no. And then it's going to be where, and then how much, heavy, light, moderate. So that's where I come into play, to take that probability out and give you assurance as to what's going to happen. And so sometimes then I do have to use, words that are associated kind of with probability. So the words, let's just say, let's go to like thunderstorms, for example. And we're looking at, say, central Oklahoma. All right, it's going to rain that day. So I say, you rain that day? Yes. The timing, the area, got it. Now, instead of saying probability, how much rain we're looking at, right? Well, then I can put a category on it. I can say widespread, which means everybody's getting it. I can say scattered, which means it's around most areas are going to hit it. Or I can say isolated, which means very few and far between. But that's a way to use words instead of numbers. So isolated, which means very few and far between, which means your odds of getting are pretty low, correlates to, a 10% chance of rain. So in your mind, it's not 10% it's going to rain at all that day. Because yes, no, it is going to rain, but it's a 10% only that your particular house gets hit. And so you can see how complicated all that is. So conveying the message is very difficult. And you definitely don't want to hear conflicting messages out there that's calling it, this is not an ice storm. Matter of fact, I don't even think it's going to be that cold, like 33 degrees. It won't be a big problem. And then all of a sudden you have to backtrack from there and go, well, there might be some places where it's just 31 or 32, but it's not an ice storm. And it's like, and then you go to the event 24 hours out and everybody says ice storm, but you're still going, well, it's It's just rain. An ice storm warning is this, and really, honestly, you're a complete idiot. You're a fool. You're a moron, and you really should just take yourself off whatever platform you're on because you're a con. You've just outed yourself. So if you've got to watch for those posts on Facebook, if you see anybody backtracking or hemming and hawing and saying stuff like that all week long, you got to cut them, man. If not, fine. It's your life. You can put that nonsense in it. I wouldn't. My time is too short, too valuable. If I got clowns that I'm following that don't know what they're doing and just making it up and lying and backtracking and all that stuff, I ain't got time for that. So that's my advice to you. I'm a little heated, obviously, because I've taken a lot of heat all week for this. I'm like Cat Williams, man. I cannot let losers rewrite history. So, all right, let's see. So temperatures are expected to warm above freezing late Monday morning into the afternoon, which should improve conditions. Yep, I'm good with that. Potential impacts, Sunday, obviously late day. Through Monday morning, ice accumulations, elevated services, travel problems. Yep, that's a done deal. Low potential for isolated power outages. So there's a word isolated, right? That just means few and far between, but there will be some. I have no problem with that category. It's not really a low potential, though. It'd be more like a moderate potential, because I do think there will be some. It's hard to say how much, because this isn't a catastrophic type setup where we're stuck with cold temperatures that don't go anywhere, and then the winds really crank up. We don't have one of those, kind of on the lower end of that, so I'm okay with that. It's just I don't want you to give the impression there won't be any, because there will be some. What to do: be prepared for sudden changes in traction while driving, allow for extra time to get to a destination. And I'm going to show you a couple things we can do if you do lose power, how you can prepare for that. There's another graphic they had here where they kind of outlined Sunday evening, Sunday night, and Monday morning, and then down here Monday afternoon for just regular rain versus the pink stuff for all freezing rain. So let's see, freezing rain Sunday afternoon into Monday, blah, blah, blah. High potential of at least a glaze of ice in some areas. And see, so this is where, as the communicator, I take this away. It's not a high potential in some areas. It's a glaze of ice over every area, with the exception out here at the far northwestern corner of the state. So yeah, travel problems with that. Temperatures will warm late Monday morning, little by little from the south to north. That'll improve road conditions, which means, yeah, you can go out. If you wait till lunchtime, then you can head on out and you don't have any problems on the roadways. Total ice amounts, where the heaviest winter precipitation will be, and how quickly temperatures will warm are still uncertain. Check back for updates. All right. So we kind of highlighted where I think the highest amounts will be. And we looked at on a model spread as well, which basically went with kind of what I started the broadcast with. The Weather Service in Tulsa, they also kind of outlined that severe storm index that shows some of these little hot spots of where they think some heavier ice accumulations will be for more of an impact versus a minor impact. But they widespread it in yellow for 1/10 of an inch at least, with some areas here a quarter to half inch in some of these areas, and even a half inch or more in these areas. So again, that was kind of along the model day we looked at as well. Let's go to temperatures. So I'd really pay attention to this 10-day model blend. So it's fine here in the extended. Our pattern is warming up, obviously. And then it's funny, short-term models are finally doing better at getting these temperatures here. I kept having to tell you they weren't going to get as hot as they were, but it looks like they've come down to reality. So I got no problem with these two numbers. 40 may be in question. Depends on how much we can clear out Monday afternoon, and if we can get a little peak of sun or something like that. By the way, road conditions, if you are traveling, I do have those on my website, aarontutleweather.com. You go over here to the Weather Data tab, Multi-State Road Conditions. It'll show you the ground temperatures on here, the soil temps, and then it'll show you, won't have a snow road total or a snow route map, but it will have the cameras on here on the map when the roads start to freeze up, and you can see ODOTs, and then same thing here with these little traffic cameras. You can always click on these and see how traffic's moving. So this is real easy to look at. And then same thing here for Kansas. Southeast Kansas will get some ice. Missouri, of course, you guys will get some ice. Let's see, we'll zip past Colorado. There's Texas. You can do Texas, and you can do New Mexico. Well, we won't get anything in New Mexico. And then you got Arkansas link on here as well. All right, so last thing I'm going to show you is what you can do when and if you're one of those unlucky ones that do have a situation with power. So let me get this so you can see a little bit better. That was a little big, a little too big. All right, I'll frame this up. All right, so staying warm when the power is out is what this graphic is called. So Ideally, given today's data, the more likelihood for this to occur would be into southern Oklahoma, say from Ardmore, north and east from there to east central Oklahoma. Probably south and east of Shawnee. You're kind of on the leading edge where the heavier precip will be. So there's a little sweet spot that's going to set up somewhere south of you, I think, in that little spot of southeast Oklahoma, where probably have a higher probability of seeing more power outages there than other places of the state. And then you have eastern Oklahoma along I-40 area, up near Fort Smith, and then eastward from there in Arkansas, and then also in southern Missouri. But the bottom line is there'll be a few others kind of scattered around, and some may not even be weather related. They may just be for various other reasons. But what you're going to do is close the blinds or curtains to keep in some heat, believe it or not. And you're going to close off rooms to avoid wasting heat. You're going to wear layers of loose fitting, lightweight, warm clothing. Eat and drink. Food provides energy, calories, that warms the body. It says here to avoid caffeine and alcohol. I could put this on here all day long, but 99% of you are like, well, I didn't hear nothing about that. And then stuff towels or rags under the cracks under the doors. That way you can prevent any drafts. So that's kind of what you can do to kind of keep the house going on the warm side until they get power restored to you. Now, when you are walking around the ice on Monday morning, because you got to go to work. Your boss says, sorry, we're open for business regardless. Well, this is what you got to do. If it's cold and icy, waddle on. Is that what it says? Keep your toes pointed out. Keep your knees loosey-goosey. Who put this together? Keep your hands outside of your pockets. Take short steps so you don't rock it. Take it slow. What is this? Holy moly. So you won't fall down and rolly. All right. So did you make any heads or tails of that one? So basically is you keep your hands out of your pockets, walk really slow, walk like a penguin, keep your little feet pointed outwards, and take little baby steps. Now, let's say you're going to take a fall, right? Or you might take a fall. So this is how this happens. So the bottom left guy here says normally when we walk, our legs' ability to support our weight is split mid-stride. So it's even Steven. Walking this way on ice forces each leg to support the weight of the body at an angle that is not perpendicular to the surface of the ice, resulting in a fall. So they put a little geometry on here for you, and that causes you to fall right on your hip. You know, if you're the age of 70 or over, you know how important those hips are. So you don't want to do this right here. And then, of course, what's the first thing you do? You're going to put your hand out to brace yourself. Well, now you've just broken your wrist, sprained your wrist, whatever it may be. So this is the bad way to do it. So how do you prevent this from happening? You got to walk forward like you almost like I have a slump. To walk on ice, keep your center of gravity over your front leg at all times. So we're almost like you're leaning forward. So, and then they talk about one animal that figured that out is the penguin. Think of yourself as a penguin and you'll be all right. So that's the right way to walk so you don't slip and fall like this. And it'll be misleading. All it takes is a little teeny tiny little thin coating. You may not even see it, which is why they call it black ice. But that happens to you, then you're in trouble and you don't have much there. All right, let me show you Dallas. And this is why forecasters down there are going to have a tough time. And I've already seen a couple of the forecasts. One guy said no ice at all. It was yesterday. And I was like, ooh, that was a brave call. I'm not sure I'd have made that call. But he did it. So now he's going to have to eat it. So let's take a look and see what the model thinks. I'm going to use the SREF. This is a short-term high-resolution model. All right. So this is, I've showed you this before. If you haven't, you're new here, welcome. We get to the weeds here. So this is the vertical look of the atmosphere. From bottom to top is height. 5,000 feet, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. This is the snow growth layer between 15 and 20,000 feet. This is where you get all that snow that develops in the cloud level. And the moisture is indicated by the green you see on the map and the purple. That's all moisture, 100% humidity. And then you get these little red lines. These little red lines, and I'll outline it here in yellow. These little red lines are omega. So where you see all these little red lines overlaid the moisture and even the snow growth layer, that's where you get precipitation to fall. So you got a lot of precipitation falling in the form of your typical snow from the cloud layer. And then you've got a lot of omega down here in the lower levels. Now that creates drizzle and very light sprinkles and very light rain, whereas this would create very heavy rain if it was like, warm. But in this case, obviously a lot of heavy precipitation, which would be in the form of snow originally. But anyway, so what's going to happen here is this will all fall as snow, and it gets into this layer, kind of right in this zone. Let's see, it goes pretty low. Let me do this. I'll use this color here. So where are we at? Let's go about here. And this is just a proximity, just kind of give you a visual what this really looks like. All right, because I'm looking at the contours on here. All right, so this right here is, I should have done that in red, actually. Let's do that. Let me clear this so I can make this color-coded. Everybody like color-coded, right? All right, so we'll do color-coded. So this is be considered, if you look back at that graphic, if you remember that I showed you a little while ago, this is our warm layer, okay? So this is where temperatures are above 0 Celsius. So in other words, above 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, above this layer, 10,000 feet on up, these are all temperatures below freezing, all right? Super cold in some cases, way cold. Down here are temperatures right at the freezing point or less. I'm just using Dallas as an example. So this is how you get the precipitation that falls, that's snow, because it's in the cold layer, hits the warm layer, melts, and then comes back down and then hits through this cold layer and then flash freezes at the surface. And that's how you get your freezing rain. Okay, now in this particular case, we'll look at there's several little runs of this high resolution model. And on the bottom is the accumulation of precipitation during this point, going from right to left. So this will be starting right here on my cursor, right here, is Sunday afternoon through, let's stop it here at Monday morning. All right, so this particular guy here says about ½ an inch of rainfall. Now, notice I said rain. It did not say ice. This particular model has it all green. In other words, it thinks temperatures are going to stay just above freezing. Now, I'm going to go to the next one. Oh, look at that one. It says ice accumulations, and it has 3.34 inches of ice accumulations for Sunday afternoon through daybreak on Monday. All right, so that's the same model, pushing different directions. One says, it's just a cold rain, ½ an inch. The other one says, no, about 3/10 or so of ice. Here goes another one. It says a cold rain, and not that much of it, just 0.12. Here's another one, and it says hardly anything, and it has mid-morning, just a couple of tenths to 3/10 through the drive time. Here's another one, has a little bit of ice at the beginning, and then then a break, and then cold rain after that as you head to the Monday morning hours. Here's another one, which says mostly cold rain mid-morning. Here's one that has a little bit of ice and then a little bit of rain. Here's one that says a lot more rain mid to late morning. Here's one that has a little bit of ice and a little bit of rain. Here's one that has a lot of ice and then followed by a little bit of rain. Ice accumulations here, also about 3/10 or so. And then here's one that has nothing, and then eventually it rains in the morning. Here's one with a little bit of ice originally, about 1/10, and then eventually goes to some heavy rainfall through the morning. And then here's all rain there, all rain there, all rain there, there. Ooh, mostly all ice here with ½ an inch of ice accumulations. And this just has rain, 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 ice, and then rain, 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 and rain. So if you were to take a look at this model and you look at its members, 2/3 of them said a cold rain for Dallas. 1/3 of them said ice. And the ice was anywhere from 1/10 to about, 0.36, I think was the high. So if you're in Dallas-Fort Worth, you're looking at this. This is just looking at the SREF one model. You're going, what do I do with that? So this is it's a communication issue, right, at this point. And we're going to look at another, since we're looking at Dallas, let me look at another model there. So let me go pull up the FW. Let's go look at the NAM, just so we can see the difference between those outputs. So here's the high-resolution NAM, and it has 0.37 inches of ice down there. All right. Now, notice earlier I liked the NAM for this event. So if I'm Dallas, I'm looking at this, I'm going, ooh, it's not good. All right, so I'm going to go look at the HER. Now, the HER did really sad when we looked at it. So it's got no ice. It has a cold rain and barely anything. 600ths, that's out to lunch. Let's see. We can go to the high-res SH. Let's see. This one has 0.3, 0.34 of an inch of ice on that one. This one has another 0.3, And this one has just rain, just a cold rain, 3/10. So those 3 runs of this little high-res model here, 2 had ice, 3/10, and 1 had a cold rain. So you get my picture, and you're like, man, what do you do in this situation? Remember, you're the meteorologist trying to portray the threat and what you're supposed to do about it. Let me look at the NAM that's not the high-resolution version, but a lower-res version. It's got 1/2 inch of freezing rain from Sunday late afternoon through just about daybreak Monday, and then it transitions over to just a cold rain. So there you go. So the NAM is on board with the ice. These other models are struggling to decide what to do with it. I don't even need to go any further into that one, but because I can look at some other models, but they're pointless. Carnival says the same thing. So what happens is, in this case, and we'll speak on Dallas for once, and then I'll go Oklahoma, and then we'll summarize this and call it. By the way, again, if you're super late, where's my map or my deal here? I'm going to post the link to the broadcast channel. That way you can join it. So you can do it either now or you can come back and do it when this thing is over here in just a couple minutes. So I'm wrapping it up. Oops. Yeah, got it in there. Okay, so here's what I would do. In that situation where you're right on the fence and the model resolution is what you're trying to get into to find out where that fine line is, you're going to have to err on the side of caution. So you can say, look, the data is split 50-50 whether or not we have ice here or not. And the issue is we have temperatures that are going to range anywhere from 28 to 33 degrees, depending on which model you believe. I know we have Arctic air. I know we have a system coming in with a lot of precipitation. Here's the outcome. If it's a cold rain, we're all fine. Nobody cares. It's just cold or wet. If it's all ice, we got a problem in Dallas-Fort Worth. Overnight, Sunday night, massive, mega wreck situation setting up, which will carry on into the early morning of our commute on Monday. That'd be a nightmare. So what I would do, err on the side of caution. You can get up early if you'd like. You can check weather conditions, knowing that if it's icy and if the temperature is below 31, you're not going anywhere. You might as well just stay home. If you wake up in the morning and it's 32, 33, you head out the door as temperatures are already starting to warm up. You can do that. Meanwhile, as far as the forecast goes, I'd call for ice. And then if I bust, guess what? Then I have to bust. But I guarantee you, it is so much better to call for ice and let everybody understand what the risk is than to say a cold rain and then have it shut down. You're much more forgiven if you say the reason why it should be ice and you end up missing it by just a 1/2 degree. You're way more forgiven over that than if you say, just a cold rain, it's no big deal, everybody go about your day, and 1,000 people die. Because they took your word for it, it was just a cold rain. So, as a communicator, now you understand where I'm coming from. It's not easy. Remember, you're messing with people's lives, and you're having to give them the best information you can and the best guidance you can. So I get the best guidance I can get from the model data, just like you have to get the best guidance you can from the meteorologist that you follow. So you can plan accordingly. So we're on the same boat, we're just on different sides of the same coin. But anyway, so that's how that would go. So I'm always going to be a little more aggressive. I will never be, in this business, you can't be conservative and you can't be weak. That's the only way to say it. You got to have conviction, you got to have knowledge, and you got to have fortitude. All right, so this is what we do. So what happens on this system, obviously, it's an ice storm because it's not snow, it's not rain, regular rain. It's ice, pure ice, freezing rain on contact for a good probably 12-hour window for most people. Northern Texas, maybe a shorter window, 6 hours, depends on when it starts, and it's how quickly their temperatures can moderate down there. We will not moderate so fast, it'll take us longer, but regardless, we're all in the same boat together. So the freezing rain starts in North Texas, into southern Oklahoma by late Sunday afternoon. So a little earlier there, we'll probably start southern Oklahoma into central Oklahoma as early as, say, 4 o'clock. Be very, very light. Just enough to kind of get some of the roads damp. And as soon as that happens, they're frozen. There will be no wait for it to cool down and all that kind of stuff. It'll be instant. So if there's any moisture at all falling from the sky, whether it's form of drizzle, light sprinkles, light passing shower, doesn't matter. It's all going to be ice. All right, so once that happens, if you're going to ask me, hey, can I still go? The answer is no. If you're asking me right now and you're sending me a DM, hey, I've got to go to Dallas. I've got to go here. And it's between Sunday night. It's between 6 p.m. Sunday to noon Monday. Can I go? The answer is no. No. Now, if you want to do it, fine. Can you drive on ice? No. You can do it, but you're not gonna like the outcome. But that's what I would have to say to you. All right, and that's my answer to everyone that's wanting to try to do this. I know everybody's got plans. They got, they've made long ago, and they're trying to squeeze it in. If you are going to do it, and you do have to do something, you're gonna have to do it by the afternoon on Sunday. Wherever it is you're going, got to be there and back by Sunday afternoon, as early as say 2 o'clock. It'd be the safest call. Make sure you're back by 2. After that, it's fair game. Because remember, if the miles are off just a little bit and it comes just a couple hours sooner, I don't want you to go, well, you said 4 o'clock and it's 2:30. Don't put me in that don't put me in that box. So you've been warned. You know what's coming. It's on you now. From this point forward, every action you make is on you, and there's a consequence for everything. So don't blame me, but I'm just the messenger. So that's what the pattern looks like. That's the outcome looks like. The good news is in all this is that temperature will quickly moderate, starting in Monday morning down south, and then by mid to late morning here across southern and central Oklahoma and northern, etc. So by lunchtime, we should, knock on wood, all be above freezing in Oklahoma. Some residual, probably maybe in Arkansas, Missouri for another hour or two, possibly, and that's about it. Otherwise, it should be a pretty quick warm up for everybody. And then any ice accumulations that we've had will all melt, right, instantly. So that means the roads and everything after lunchtime should be good for travel. So I'm keeping you out of that 12-hour travel window from, or actually, I guess it's technically it's like 18-hour from 6 p.m. Sunday to 12 noon on Monday. Just completely avoid that whole time frame, and then you're playing with dice, on the front side of that as far as exact timing of start time. The end time seems to be unanimous. I haven't seen anything that says the cold air is going to linger past noon on Monday. There's no data that supports that, and I don't see why there would be. So I'm okay with that. Let's see. Amounts are enough to cause some power outages. Probably not a whole lot, but enough. And if it's you, it's important, right? So highest probability of that would be in southern, southeastern, east central Oklahoma, western Arkansas, northern, northwestern Arkansas, southern Missouri, eastern Oklahoma, right around Fort Smith. It seems to be. Not to say they can't happen elsewhere, but that's the more general likelihood due to amounts, which would be anywhere from a quarter to half inch of ice accumulations in those areas. Elsewhere, a widespread tenth of an inch to a quarter of an inch is going to be common. So there's going to be just basically streaks and tracks. You get these heavier amounts that the models will not be able to predict exactly where, only that they're in our area. And then they'll try to give a generalized focus point that I mentioned earlier. That's about the best they can do. That's fine. That's enough to give you the Cole's notes on it. Let's see, what else? The winds, 10 to 15, seems to be sustained in many areas for this event, which, it's not a lot of wind, but it's enough to probably get things moving, because anytime you add wind with ice accumulations, you do end up with more power outage potential. So the higher those winds go, obviously, and the more ice you get, those two combination equals more power outages. So we keep those low, that's better, but the models do indicate some gusts up around 25 and 30 at times. That's a lot of wind. So if we get anything about a quarter of an inch of ice in that wind, it'll probably do it. So keep that in mind. Let's see what else. I think I've covered everything I could say. So yeah, Weston, hey man, sometimes you gotta tell it like it is. I don't sugarcoat things. There's no safe space here, man. I'm gonna tell it like you need to hear it. So it'd be dumb for me not to. That's what happens, man. An ice storm, it's an ice skating rink. You got no control over a 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 pound vehicle. What do you think's going to happen? It ain't gonna be pretty. Let's see. Heather already ran for food. So that's another thing. You don't need to run to the milk and bread aisle and just storm it all out. Remember, you're not trapped, man. This is only for a 12 to 18 hour period, depending on where you live as to where you got to be prudent of this. So in Texas, it's a 12-hour period from basically 6 p.m. Sunday to 6 a.m. Monday, right? That's the bulk of the timing. Again, there's a little wiggle room on either end of that, but that's the main deal there. And then for Oklahoma, same idea from evening from 6 to Monday noon. After that, you can go to the store. If you can eat that much milk and bread in that short of a window, well, then yeah, go to the store, load up. Most people think they'll probably manage to hold off a day. Let's see. All right, so I'm gonna look at a couple of your comments. Since it is Saturday, I don't have to run off real quick and go to bed or go back to work or whatever. So let me peruse real quick. You guys on YouTube, again, thanks for checking in and doing your comments here. And Jody's always in the house to chat with you. Christopher Hubbard, I see you, my friend. Well, he lives way up north. I mean, way up north, like northern part of the country. Stefan, if he's watching, he lives in Canada. He's always sending me pictures and videos of his snow. And you want to go, man, he gets like a feet. He gets feet of snow. I'm so jealous. I mean, he's got to dig himself out every time. It's a lot of work up there, though. I mean, a lot of work. He loves it, though. He's a snow lover. Yeah, so Mean Vagine, she's kind of talking about falling down the ice. Cross your arms over your chest. Tuck your chin. Hit the meaty parts. So she learned that from her airborne training. Yeah, whenever you want to fall, you really want to avoid putting your hand out, which is the first thing your instinct goes to do, is to brace yourself, right? And if you ever took karate class, you don't do that. You let your body handle the impact, because, and it's pure physics. So if you have force applied to just this hand, you have all the force of your weight, gravity, and etc. from then the obstacle that you're hitting on, all combines at that one point. So that's a lot of traumatic force and weight to put on one small area. Now, if you can fall, like she was saying, like maybe do like something like this, or in karate class they teach you to roll. I mean, you have to be really quick and not be stiff, but just kind of roll. And then you let your body cradle, if that's the case. Or if you just do this and just fall sideways, you now have that force, instead of on one hand here, if this is your whole body from head to toe, you now let that force go flat all the way across. So the physics on this side is now that F equals ma, force equals mass times acceleration, is now evenly distributed if you can fall like a board and you can hit everything at the same time. So that's why you're less prone to break anything or do anything severe damage if you can fall that way. So if you're going to fall, and if you can think about it real quick, don't put your hand out, unless you're going to curl your shoulder real quick like a rolling arch, like you're going to do a somersault type, whatever, some gymnastics move. Otherwise, just fall like a board. Anyway, now should have less injury as a result of that. Christopher, why just milk and bread? I don't know, man. I don't know who started that stuff decades ago, but it's a running joke forever, at least down here in the South. I know you guys up north probably never did that, never heard of it, but down here we do. Yeah, I'm pretty sure schools will be closed, and keep in mind, if you live in Oklahoma City, again, some of the data had us up to 1/4 inch of ice, and even if it's only a tenth, because the miles are split, tenth to a quarter, that's fine, tomato, tomato. The point is it's still ice. The point is it's knocking off driving ability, so it doesn't matter if it's a tenth, 2/10. It doesn't matter if it's a few hundredths. It's still the same result. It's ice that you can't drive on. So I do expect multiple closures for Monday morning, or delays, right? So we're delayed until 10 a.m., right? It's kind of a deal. Or we're delayed. So there might be some of that. I don't make those rules. Those are all independently made. But just keep in mind that's probably something you'll have to deal with come Monday. Professor Tuttle, Elizabeth, you got it. Let's see. Okay, so let me go here on Facebook here real quick. I'll look at the last few comments. I can only scroll up so much. Glenn Davis, you must be so late to the party. We spent like 20 minutes on DFW. Steve, how did your greenhouse hold up? Did your plant survive? Ooh, that's a sore subject. I don't know, man. Jody's afraid to stick her head in there. So one day I didn't have the heater on, I think, and a lot of them got free. A lot of freeze. Somehow got in there and got the vines. They didn't like it. They turned black. So I don't think they're gonna make it. But the rest of the plant still looked pretty good. Just the vines didn't do well at all in the cold air. Otherwise, I got a little space heater out there, and that seems to be enough to keep them from freezing. So, you're asking a lot from a portable greenhouse. Let's put it that way. But it's the only option we had because I had no room in the garage, and I ain't putting all this stuff in the house. So there's not enough room in the house either for all that nonsense. Plus, I don't want all those stupid gnats flying around again. You want to get me upset? You have gnats flying around my face every time I get in the house and trying to eat or do this live or watch something, read something. It ain't happening. And to get those out of there once you get them, only thing I found out is only one thing that works. And there's these little white eggs things you can buy. You can get at Home Depot. You can get them on Amazon too. And I forgot what they're called. I have to go back and look at my email. But basically they hatch in these little egg larvae eating things, and it's fine for the plant in the soil, but they eat all the gnats. So that's how you get rid of them. That's the only thing I can get to work. And I think I've spent hours Googling, trying to figure out how to get them. And, I came across somewhere, somehow, message board, I don't know. And then came across that little nugget. So Robin asks, do the news stations encourage their weather forecasters to keep changing their forecast? I never watch local news for weather. I figure it's important. AT let me know. So, no. So what happens is, in the news business, the meteorologists are allowed to say what they want, all right, as far as what the forecast is. They're the ones that make it. So in other words, the boss doesn't come back there and go, you better call for this, for this broadcast. They're not going to do that to you. Now, they will come back and talk to them. They'll ask them, say, what's going on? We got weather coming in? Say, well, so-and-so saying this. They may pull that little trigger, and then you're going to have to defend yourself and go, yeah, he's just blowharding, or it doesn't really support that, and, I don't know. They may or may not do that. Other than that, they just leave it up to you because you're supposedly the expert, right? And you're the one that's getting them viewers anyway. So, Travis, you're welcome. Watching the forecast since Sunday, and it hasn't changed in 7 times like at other content creators. It hasn't even changed at all. You're consistent and precise. Appreciate you. You're welcome. So I have a little clip that I'm going to play, or I'm going to post on Facebook from my Sunday broadcast, where I was saying this is a setup for this, and at the time I said, now it's over 7 days away. I said, I'm good, but I don't know if I'm that good. So I had fun with that, because that's pretty brave, man. I'm just telling you, 8 days out to call for an ice storm. Nobody else did that. Nobody else would do that. Well, I do it because, like I said, fortitude. So I got conviction, knowledge, pattern recognition, etc. Plus, when you go out alone, it's different. When everybody's doing it, it's a piece of cake, man. But to be a leader, yeah, you got to know what you're doing. And you got to be prepared to eat it. Let's see. Thank you, Mark. Mark's singing my praises. Say, if you're new here, welcome. Most accurate forecast in Oklahoma. Drama-free, anxiety-free, tornado tracking. That is correct. It's funny? Because, and this is like a playbook of humans. Boy, don't get me started on humans. But humans can be the most rotten, disgusting thing that walks this earth sometimes. And one of the tricks that a human will do when they inherently know that they're wrong and that they're not a good person, they will portray that onto someone else and claim that this other person is really who they are. And it is the most frustrating thing when you're the other person. You're like this beacon of light all the time, and this is your motto, this is what you do, and no one can take this away from you. And then you have this piece of crap, evil person that comes and goes, oh, he's always doing this and he's always doing that. And they say it so many times that it must be true. So then other people are like, oh yeah, that must be true because so-and-so's saying it. And I'm over here going, what? So yeah, my slogan, my whole thing is non-hyped weather coverage. And you'll have people saying, oh, he hypes all the time, gets clickbait, all this stuff. And I'm going, what? That's so far from the truth. But if you look at their content, that's what they do. And so for them to feel at ease and peace with how rotten they are inside, they have to portray that to someone else who's like the complete opposite and just say it so many times to try to bring that person down. So humans will try to bring other people down all the time, try to make themselves feel better or look better. It happens in all walks of life. It's disgusting, obviously, and a lot of that goes to trauma. There's a lot of people that suffer trauma from childhood all the way to adulthood, and they don't deal with it properly, and so they take it out on others. It's really the bottom line on everything. And so I don't know, man, they have to rationalize things to make it okay in their little world. And that's what they have to do. But so what I do, I just keep doing what I do. I let my forecast speak for themselves, let my weather coverage speak for itself. And if you're not smart enough to see the difference between a blowhard, that stinks at their job, and someone else who excels at it and actually doesn't cause hype and anxiety and drama and almost can put you to sleep when there's a tornado barreling down on you, to have you that relaxed, You only have this joker over here doing the opposite, and then saying that I'm doing that too. Nah, it didn't work, right? So obviously, most of you are smart to realize that's just nonsense, and to filter out or throw it out, delete it, whatever. But not everybody follows me, so they get the. It's one of those deals, like a trash mag. The National Enquirer. If somebody printed it, must be true. If somebody said it, must be true. Well, for those humans, you think how weak-minded they are. Think how lazy they are. Think how unintelligent they are. Think of how low IQ they have. Think about how low EQ they have. You think about what a waste that they are. So if you live in that world, what good are you providing to anyone? Don't be that person. Be better. Ask more of yourself. Demand more of yourself. Do the research. Do the work. Spend the time. Find out, the person that you've heard about, is that really true? I don't know. Let me go find out. Let me watch what he does. He didn't seem very anxiety driven. That wasn't hype. That wasn't clickbait. What he actually said happened. And he said it 8 days ago. These other guys, they didn't say anything was going to happen. And then they started backtracking. And then 3 days later, they say, well, I wouldn't be doing you any favors if I didn't say it was a potential device. Well, why didn't you say that 4 days prior? So, if the smart ones will catch on to all that stuff. The dumb ones, I can't help them. That's their prerogative. That's what they're going to do. But I can just tell you, I do see a lot. I get a lot because I get messages and you guys post stuff. And so you guys always putting that stuff out there that I see. Otherwise, I'm like in my own little world, right? So it always shocks me when I hear that kind of stuff. I'm like, how and why? Because you have to understand, when you're out for your own business. So let's say you're running your own business, all right? And you've developed a product. And you put your blood, sweat, and tears in it, your sacrifices. That's your family time, your time. You don't get to go out anymore. You don't get to go on vacations because you're tight on budget, because you're spending all of this effort, all this time, all this money to build something. And then you have some knucklehead over here that doesn't do anything and then tries to bring all that down, trashes it, slanders it, says a bunch of crap that's not even true. Why? For them to get off? You know what I'm saying? And you're over here going, that's not fair. And so that's why when Cat Williams came out and said, you cannot let losers rewrite history. These are the losers. You're the winner. You've won. So you created something. You built something. No one could take that away from you. And don't let them try. Punch them in the face, So that's how you kind of go out there. And of course, that punch in the face for Facebook algorithms, AI, that's not a violent thing. That's more of just the figurative speech. Hyperbole. Don't ban me. But anyway, you know what I mean. You got to fight back. You got to defend your turf. That's humans for you, and that's why I said humans can really disappoint me sometimes. But anyway, I go on and all this kind of stuff. So one of these days I'm gonna write a book. Yeah, but I ain't got no time now because I'm still serving you guys. So I got 2 other jobs. I'm hustling, man. I'm hustling. Carrie, thank you for the stars. Ken, thank you for the stars as well. And thanks you guys for the questions and for tuning in and sharing the content, the posts, liking the video. Appreciate all that. Cat Tuttle. I don't know about that. You're welcome, Tanya. Let's see. AJ, do you have any recommendations on tornado shelter manufacturers? No, not right now. I just know the general types that you can get because there's so many. So you can get a below ground and you can get an above ground. I'll tell you the issue with above ground is they're fine, but they're gonna be very loud. So just make sure you have, if you go to gun range, you got you got your ears on. So make sure you have that on your ears because it'll be loud anytime debris hits that. Remember, you're in that little metal box. So that would be the only limitation on that. But it's great for those that have poor to no mobility, right? So if you can't get downstairs, you can't get down and climb down into a hole, whatever. Obviously, that's where you're limited to. Go for it. It's still just as good. It's just the only trade-off is that. Now, the below ground, obviously, that eliminates the fear that you would have an F5 and completely clean the slab and take everything with it. And so you go below ground, right? And remember, F5s are the rarest of all tornadoes, like 2% of all tornadoes, 3% maybe at most. And I think that's even thrown in with the F4s, come think of it. So they're extremely rare. But in that case, it's just a little bit of stairs, and it can be in the garage, it can be outdoors. So just kind of what you decide. And some people have basements. I know it's rare in Oklahoma, but you could always use a basement. Now they do have basements in other parts of the country, but they're like cinder block style. So the foundation's not really attached well properly, and they don't do too good. So the basements are exposed when those big trailers go through, and even the strong ones, just because the framing's not right. So anyway, so that's a trade-off there. You have to kind of deal with your particular situation in that case. But otherwise, as far as the trailer shelters go, above or below doesn't matter. And as far as the brand goes, you're going to get into where some will do certain things than others. Like they can treat it a certain way to prevent rust from occurring. It's kind of like the quality materials that they use. If they paint it, powder coat it, you get into all those minutia details that cost a little extra money, but would improve the lifelong use of the shelter without it rusting out or whatever. And then you have like something designs, like I've partnered in the past with Smart Shelters. They have a design where the door closes and opens. You have a pin on both, a cotter pin on the other end. So if you can't slide the door open, don't worry, you just pull the cotter pin out and go out the back end. That was, I think, a patented design, which separated them from others. So that was kind of a good thing to do. But it's a good thing, peace of mind. Now you're thinking, well, do you have to have one? The answer is no, you don't. I don't have one here in my house. So I've got an indoor, centrally located bathroom that's perfectly positioned. So it's got surrounded by all kinds of walls. So it'd be the centerpost part of my home, and that's it. So it should be adequate enough for me. Now, obviously, if it was an F5, well, then it'd be nice knowing you. But it's one of those deals where I look at odds, I look at numbers, and so I know what my odds are, and so you play the odds. At some point, do you outlive the odds? Yeah. Do the odds, outlive you? I don't know. We'll see what happens. But anyway, so yeah, when it comes to storm shelters, just really kind of a personal preference. I can't speak on behalf of F5 or Oz or any of those companies because I haven't done any business with them. I don't know the guys, never talked to them. Smart Shelters I did, so I can verify they're good people. Anyway, I usually get those kind of questions in the springtime, not when we're talking about ice coming in. But anyway, all right, so I think that's it for me. Like I said, you guys have been good. I'll either make a post tonight when the new data comes in, or I'll go live. Kind of just depends. See what I'm doing. See what I feel like. Because I don't know what my plans are right now. But one of those. And then, of course, on Sunday, we'll go live at lunchtime. So after you guys got to church, so we'll live around lunchtime, and then we'll be able to track when that stuff's going to move in and see what the final look at data says. Because got nothing new coming in after that before the event starts. And that's it. All right, you guys have been great. Appreciate your love, support. You're either liking the video, and this is why you can support me. Obviously, liking the video supports me because why? It tells the algorithms that you like the content. Joining the page, so as a follower, like the page, follow it. Notifications, that too. So that's on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, all those. So all that helps. And then financially, if you'd like to do that as well, buy me a cup of coffee for my time. You can do that too. Facebook stars was kind of generated for that. YouTube also has a way you can do gifts through their platform. And then they all do memberships now. So the memberships, you just join in. And mine's super cheap. It's like $2.49 a month. So no, you can't buy a cup of coffee for that anymore. But it's super cheap. I just do it just so that you guys don't feel like man, that's another expense, right? I try to keep it super low. That way you don't cringe at going, oh, how many more of these subscriptions are out there? Because I do know there's other content creators that you probably do follow and you do like, you do want to support. And so there's so many of them, you can only give right to just so many creators, even though you probably want to. So that's why I keep mine low. That way, if you want to follow and support other creators, you can also donate to them as well. So I keep mine super low as that regard. That way I can reach everybody. But regardless, if you support it, don't support, I'm still here. Been here since 2010, and I'll still be here until I retire, whenever that is. God willing. All right. Well, listen, that's it for me. You guys have a great rest of your day, and we will talk again soon. Be safe out there. Take care.